But our most terrifying and lethal new forms of infected will have to wait until you play the game for yourselves.
What is going on, guys? So we recently have had some more footage and details revealed to us about The Last of Us Part 2 during Sony's latest State of Play, and now there's no hiding at all that I am so excited for this game, and I imagine you are too if you've clicked on this video. We got a great look at some of the footage again. We didn't get to see much more other than the open world and how it can be traversed via the rope and the swinging by Ellie. However, I don't really need to see any more footage. I'm pretty ready to play this game already. What this video showed us, and it made me want to talk about more, is the types of infected. We already know a lot about the infected from the previous games, but this State of Play has introduced some new types of infected. They have included that they've kept back the most badass types of infected, but I think considering there's only 4 types of infected in the previous game, I think we're only going to see maybe 2 or 3 more types max in this new edition. So in this video I'm basically going to talk about what we know about the types of infected so far that have been in the previous game and that have been in The Last of Us, that are going to be in The Last of Us Part 2. So just so you know, I don't want anybody to worry, there's no spoilers in this game at all other than the extra type of infected which is introduced in the State of Play footage, so I will not be covering anything about the story, so don't worry. So before I discuss all types of infected in The Last of Us Part 2 and Last of Us Part 1, I'm going to do a little brief background discussion about the actual disease. So for the humans exposed to this mutated strain, the fungus attacks the brain and begins to alter the behaviour of the host. I'm not going to even try and pronounce the fictional disease in the game. I'm just going to post it in the video and you can try and pronounce it at your own leisure. Once exposed to this disease, the host would originally then go through 4 different stages of infection: Runner, Stalker, Clicker and Bloater, each stage more dangerous than the last. However, due to the latest footage, we've seen one more stage in this evolution, we can call it, I suppose. So the first stage of being infected is the Runner. These are recently infected and can still move and run around like humans. We know for the basic rules of the Last of Us lore that the longer you are infected, the more hideous and monstrous you become. Which makes sense as to why Naughty Dog have added a few new types of infected into The Last of Us Part 2, because it's been 3 to 4 years have passed since the first game, so the infected have had time to mutate further and become even grosser. Now getting back to the runners have poor vision due to the infection in their eyes, where it starts in the brain, then it moves to the eyes very quickly. And due to them being recently infected, they have similar strengths equal to a human. This means that fighting 1 or 2 has never ever been a problem in the first one, and it probably won't be a problem in the second one either. However, it's when there's more than 2, when there's groups, which they can easily overwhelm and kill you. The Last of Us Part 2, I believe, is going to introduce even larger groups than we've previously seen in The Last of Us Part 1 for several reasons. The most obvious reason being the development of the game having more ability to produce more groups in the game, but also they've introduced purposely larger scaled maps. So if we think of Uncharted 4, how open those levels were compared to Uncharted 2, 3, even compared to The Last of Us, they were very open, and I think The Last of Us Part 2 is going to grow on that massively. We've already seen massive levels, which means I think we're going to see bigger groups of infected. Even there could be a few chase scenes. If you're in an open area, why not? Will there not be 8 to 10 infected chasing you through all the map, you trying to run to survive? I think that's going to be really cool. And I think the runners, despite being the most basic type of infected, are actually going to add a massive variation in the game this time around. The next stage is the Stalker. The Stalker is the development from the Runner to the Clicker. So because of this, there's sort of the hybrid of the two. They can still move, they can still attack, and they're still quite quick. And on this as well, they have more resemblance of a Clicker. So because of this, you can see mutated growths on their head, which is sort of similar to the Clickers, which in several months to years would then make them become a Clicker. They also, what makes them different from the runners, they make a croaking noise instead of a cry like the runner, and instead of clicks like the Clicker. There's actually a few of these in The Last of Us Part 1, which I wasn't really aware of. They're very rare, you only face them 2 or 3 times. So they aren't actually new. I thought when I first saw the Let's Play, they're actually, the State of Play, that they're actually going to be new, but they aren't. They're already in The Last of Us, but I think we're going to see more of them this time round.
Give me a hand with this.
Next we've got the Clicker. We all know them too well from The Last of Us Part 1. These enemies are made for the most intense encounters in the game. Blind but immune to stealth and stronger than humans, these were difficult enemies and some of the most challenging enemies of the game. The thing about clickers which I found difficult was they're often found in groups of other clickers or in groups with other types of infected such as runners. And now we might see them with runners, stalkers, or the new types, or even bloaters. We don't know what we're going to see them in, but they're hard enough by themselves, so in groups they can prove difficult. So the next stage I believe will be the Shambler. So the Shambler to me looks like it's going to be in between the clicker and the bloater. It's the new infected introduced in The Last of Us Part 2. They are heavily armoured enemies that when you get too close to them they release a poisonous spore fog that burns its victims. The spore they give off must be a little bit different to the actual infection because Ellie is immune to it, so it wouldn't harm her. To me, these Shamblers are definitely the stage in between clicker and bloater, as they appear to be the smaller version of bloaters and maybe a little bit faster than bloaters, which suggests that as time goes on they would then progress to become a bloater. As well as this, in the footage you actually see two Shamblers together, which has never been done with bloaters in The Last of Us, which tells me that they might represent mini bosses, but they aren't as dangerous as bloaters because we never see two bloaters together. These Shamblers, like the bloaters, will be weak to fire, I imagine, so as long as we can get a bit of burning oxygen on them, we should be okay to go. The final stage is the bloater. They were the deadliest infected in Last of Us Part 1. That might not be the case for Last of Us Part 2 though. The bloaters are covered in thick fungus that effectively acts as armour. Because of this protective covering, they can withstand multiple hits from weapons such as shotguns and hunting rifles, even hatchets and machetes, making them extremely tough to try and eliminate. Not only that, bloaters were extremely aggressive. Even though they were slow moving, which made them a little bit predictable, they were still difficult to handle, and they would often throw sacks of mycotoxin, which would harm the player from a distance, which meant that you always had to think on your feet to try and defeat them. Okay guys, so I've covered the 5 types of infected that we know are going to be in Last of Us Part 2. My estimation is that there'll probably be 1 or maybe 2 more types within the game, because 4 was enough in The Last of Us Part 1, so we don't want to be seeing too much, because the more infected they add, the less we see of all of them. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of the humans versus infected, because I think that was an opportunity that was missed during The Last of Us, but in the DLC we saw that it was really fun and really effective and added new ways of tackling scenarios. What do you guys think the last infected will be? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching guys, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you keep up to date with my content. As always, thanks for watching, take it easy.